This is our basic, well, not so much basic, but it's our 4-page. Has everybody seen this? Right, everybody's seen it? Okay, I'll show you real quick. But I'm just showing you what's in the package, but I don't open it yet, okay? So it's here, it's got my name as the listing agent, it's got Tyler as the director of listings, it's got Greg or just whoever else in here to make it look like we have a listing team. So when you get a listing appointment, Tyler will create this with your name on it. So you walk in as part of the listing team, whether you've ever listed a house before or not, right? You now have notoriety, so to speak, right? But I don't use this yet. Behind it, I have my comp sheet, which is my line item sheet. I don't have it here. I just have my line item comp sheet here. And then behind that, I have the contract. And that's all I have, okay? So I walk into the listing.
The exclusive rights.
The exclusive right to sell. Well, and I have a seller disclosure, and I have a lead-based paint.
Yes.
In there as well. So I walk in, and this is my thing. And based on the conversation I had when I set the appointment, remember we talked about it a week ago, go back to the report you built and the reason that they want to sell their house. So the conversation is generally walking through the house first. So the one I just did a couple days ago, I walk in, she's there, her husband's literally crawling out of like a chair because he has back pain. So it takes a very long time for him to get there. So we're standing in the entry and I'm noticing that they're not wearing shoes. So it's always different, right? We're not gonna really talk so much about that as much as we are going through the contract. But she's like, well, do you wanna go sit down and have some tea? And I'm like, well, I'd rather see the house first and then we'll sit down and talk. Okay, so I generally will walk through the house, look at the house, remembering what my comps were, remembering the pictures I saw, analyzing what I already think the price of the house is based on what I looked at, and then running kind of just comparables in my head. Like, it needs paint, it has $20,000 worth of work, whatever the case may be. So when we're done with all of that, well, while I'm doing that, I'm trying to get from them what they think their house is worth. So the other day, I think I told you, or maybe it was you, the other day, I'm walking through, and it was just unusual. You'll see unusual things, or sometimes you won't because they're really fabulous houses. But this was a 3rd bedroom, hardwood floors, and a shower in the corner. It was weird. And his thing was, it's the one Tyler up on, that comes up on the 23rd, the brick one in North Kansas City. There was a shower in the corner, so we talked about that for a little bit. And then that prompted the conversation about value.
Like, did you laugh? How did you?
No, I said, man, that's interesting. I've never seen a shower in a corner in a bedroom.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what I was gonna do is I was gonna blow out this wall and make these 2 rooms into a big master with the walk-in bathroom, but all I ever did was put the shower in and never built the bathroom. He's like, but I think I'm gonna take it out. And I'm like, but you have pretty hardwood floors, and then there's gonna be a hole in the floor. So he's like, well, should I take it out? I'm like, man, that's a tough one. Why don't you leave it? And then we'll put in the remarks that says seller can remove the shower if you want. Because if you remove it, now you gotta carpet the floor and cover the hole and all this other stuff. But that was the moment when he was like, he said, that could affect my value. Right. And that was my invitation to talk about value with him. So we're leaving the 3rd bedroom with the shower in the corner, and I said, what do you think your home's worth? And he said, in a real nice way, he's like, well, you're the expert, and that's why we have you here. You can also get people say it in a real kind of crappy way. It's like, well, you're the expert, right? And sarcastically. And I laughed, and I was like, I am the expert, and remember we talked about on the other day how the market's just really emotional and volatile right now. So we'll talk about value when we sit down. And I didn't say anything, because I always want to get them to say it first. So depending on how the conversation naturally goes, you want to try to get as soon as possible what they think their home is worth, okay? Or as soon as realistically possible. So then we go sit down. So here's what I do with my thing. I open this up and I say, okay, I pull out my 3 things. I go like this, I count them like this. I set them over here. I lift up the exclusive right to sell. I pull out the seller's disclosure. And I say, have you ever listed a house before? And they say whatever they say. I'm like, okay, this form is really, really important, and it's also time consuming. Sometimes it takes about 20 to just the basic condition of the property, what you've done, what you haven't done, what's happened, everything you know about it that reduces your liability when you sell the home. And I slide it over to them, and I say, this is your homework. This is what you're gonna do, you're gonna fill it out. Now, when we list it, and at this point, I generally always know that I'm gonna list it. Like if you're sitting down going over paperwork, you already know you're gonna list the house, for the most part. You don't really go over paperwork in order to get the listing.
So have you talked about the value of the home yet, at this
No.
point? Okay,
No. So, not unless they've told me what they think it's worth,
okay.
okay? So then I slide the seller's disclosure over and I say, this is your homework, this is what you're gonna have prepared for us. When we go live and we list your house, our listing director, and then I start going through this stuff, is gonna be in touch with you, and he's gonna pick up the seller's disclosure unless you have an opportunity to email it to us sooner. This is kind of just some neat stuff about our company. We're a team, this is our listing director. Now, while I'm available to you always, I suggest that you contact Tyler with any requests for additional flyers, or if you just have kind of random questions that aren't time sensitive and urgent. But you can always contact me, it's just I am busy a lot. And what I do is I meet with people like you and talk about getting your house for sale on the market. And then he's in the background doing all the other work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So here's this, and then here's also some references of people that have worked with us before. You've got 20 people here that I'm gonna go in character, I think. So I've got a list of people that you can contact if you want to that have worked with us before. They've all given us 5-star reviews online, and I want to add you to this list if that's okay. And you can look at this later. Here's our 20-step marketing plan. It just is kind of comprehensive about what we do. A lot of people are always wondering, like, what is it that you guys really do and when do you do it? And this is just a snapshot of it in time, out of character. I don't ever want to be too specific on this because we may not do a lot of these and we may do them at different times, right? So this is just a snapshot for you to kind of see what we do and how we do it. And then the last piece of it is kind of a listing expectations. And we're going to come back to this after we do the listing paperwork, and I'm going to go through the expectations because the expectations is a look at what's going to drive your experience in the sale of your home. Okay? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So notice you said when.
Right.
Yeah.
How many times do you say when?
Yes.
So then I get to the contract, okay? And I pick it up and I set it over here. The only thing left is the seller's disclosure. I'm sorry, the only thing left is the lead-based paint. I grab the lead-based paint, and that was cracking us up the other day because if you know me, I don't know your name. I can't remember your name. Tyler saw it in wherever we were, San Antonio. It's embarrassing. I don't know their name. So even if you do know their name or you do not know their name, here's the strategy that I suggest because it gets real personal real quick. I say, do you spell your name the traditional way? And your name could be Ann or Beth, right? But because I can't remember your name and I even looked before. I have to work on that. I say, do you spell your name the traditional way? And they'll sometimes be like, yeah, it's Tim, right, or whatever. I'm like, okay, let's check. And do you have a middle initial? And then I'm like, and how do you spell your last name? Right, so that's where you bypass the fact that you don't remember who they are. Now,
Another good one
I do
too
remember
is,
that.
so what's your legal name?
Right.
Yes.
What's the name
Yes.
on your driver's license? What's
Yeah.
your legal name? You know?
And that's where we and then of course.
What if they go same?
It's the same. Then you're screwed.
I mean, you got me what you mean.
So if you can't remember their name, it's obviously better because you can say it. And the one thing that I'm not good at, which everyone should be experts at, is saying their name throughout the conversation. And if I can remember their name, I will. And I don't know why I don't remember names. I've always had a hard time with that.
Even agents that you have, you don't remember their names. I mean, you called me Caroline for the first 3 months I was on your
But
team.
we talked about that. You remind me of a girl that my wife works with. Her name is Caroline.
I know, I'm just giving you credit.
Yeah, okay, Catherine?
I wish you would.
Okay, so what I do is, so the seller's disclosure over there, everything else is right here, and I have the lead-based paint in front of me. I ask them what their name is, I write it down, this is where I get them in the habit of signing an initial and stuff. It's not even really important. Even though lead-based paint is a federal document and it's super important, it's not important as it relates to them, money, time, anything. There's no relevance to it. So I fill it out, I get their name spelled out properly, I put their address on the form, and I say, do you know what a lead-based paint form is? And they say yes or no or whatever. And either way, I say, okay, any house built before 1978, we have to have a lead-based paint document, disclosure that just says there is or is not lead-based paint in the home, and I really emphasize this. And then we're also going to check that you are not aware of any reports that say you have lead-based paint, okay? And then I say, now please initial this, and it's important that you take enough pins for all parties that are there. So you give them each a pin, and you have them initial the lead-based paint in both places. You flip the sheet over. This is where I need the initial, and I sign it, and then I flip it over, and I say, please sign it. Now they're already in the habit of signing stuff, and they're more comfortable. So here's where we go to this document. So the exclusive right to sell, remember, you can do anything you want in this document. You can say anything you want. You can write anything you want as long as there's agreement between our brokerage and the seller. So why we put pre-populated information is because people are less likely to object to it. And when you're writing out 6% commission or something, they're watching you. And there's a lot of emotional turmoil happening in that case. So I start out here and I write down their name because now I know it, and I've got the lead-based paint right next to me, and if I forget it again, I can just copy it, and then I say, and I kind of walk them through this a little bit, but what I do is I briefly walk them through it, and I say, I'm going to briefly walk you through this as I fill it out, but then we're going to flip back and we're going to go over it in a little bit more detail. So I put their name, and I'm like, okay, so this is you and our company, and then I write their address, and then I put the beginning date, which is either today or a week from now, or whenever you want to do it, right? And then I put the price. That's where I start talking about the price. I say, okay, so here's where I pull out the comps, the one-line sheet, and I say, now you said before that, whatever they said, right? So I'm looking at the values, and while I'm the expert, and I know what I'm doing, and I know the market and price and value homes, sometimes I get it wrong. And the reason I sometimes get it wrong is because I'm amazed at what people will pay for a property sometimes. Now, I'm not trying to build your hopes up really high. I'm going to tell you what I normally see, and I'm going to tell you what we might potentially see on your property. So when we price a home accurately, it should be under contract in this market within 6 to 10 days. If we don't price it accurately, it's not going to be. And there's one thing that we look at when we price a home, and to know if we're priced right, is on a home your size, and the price that we're probably going to settle in on, we should be getting 5 to 7 showings a week. If we're getting 5 to 7 showings a week, we know that we're priced right. Would you agree? And they agree whether they even have any idea if that's a good number or not a good number of showings. So then I say, and there's also what's called market shock, which is where you overprice your home, and it's actually really detrimental. If you overprice your home in this market, it might sit on the market for 2 weeks, and then what happens is buyers are like, why is the home still for sale? After 2 weeks, there's got to be something wrong with it. And what you've done is you just shot yourself in the foot, and you really missed the opportunity to sell your home. So it's really important that we price it right. And again, the market's going to tell us if we're priced right, because we should be getting how many showings a week? 5 to 7. To know that we're priced right. Then if we're not getting those amount of showings, we're going to come back and we're going to improve the price. So let's talk about the price a little bit. And I've already got a number of what they think, right? So this guy, he did not tell me during the walk what he thought it was worth. This is the one where he said, well, my wife's cousin or whomever came out and said that we could get somewhere between 171 and 201.
301. No, yeah.
171 and 201. And I was like, this is not going to go well, because that's so much more money than you can get for your house. And I said, okay, what did you think about her ability to sell your home? And they're like, well, we've heard that we shouldn't really work with friends, and we don't really want to work with her, we're just kind of getting her opinion on stuff. And I'm like, well, I can tell you this, you're not going to get that price for your house. And then I pull up my comps and I say, look, here's the one or two actives, here's the median price point. I did look at these before I came over, and these other ones that were 165 and 174, they were nicer than yours. How much do you, this is where you go back on that. How much money do you think it would cost someone to bring this house up to the standards of a really nice fixed up remodeled home? And you want to be careful not to say things that imply that their house isn't nice, because it could be nice to them. So the guy said 30,000. I'm like, okay, so do you agree that the value fixed up is probably 170, maybe right now we're at 175? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Would it be safe to reasonably back off 30,000? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that puts us at 145. But I know that there's people out there that'll probably pay more based on that it won't cost them 30,000. So here's what I suggest, and all the median values are like 147 to 158. I suggest you list it at 155. Does that sound good? And they say yes. We haven't even talked about commission. If they start to talk about commission, you can have a conversation first. But now I've got them to agree on the price that I think we can sell it for. They both agreed, and we haven't talked about commission yet. So I write it in here. Okay, and then I move. So then I skip to, so we've already got this check mark, which is, this is, I'm not teaching you the contract, I'm teaching you how to be able to sign it. You should read it on your own. And then I say, you're gonna sign here.
I'm trying.
It's like flat, not cooperative.
Is it a different, are the pages separated? Instead of one
Well, it's like a
continuous?
maybe set.
It looks like that's your only page. Oh, over there on the left, you could click. If you bring back that window,
It worked just a minute ago.
mhm.
We just escaped. Okay.
So now, they're all over there on the
Now I can't
left.
see my computer. Let me recheck this.
Yes. That is correct.
So if you, yeah, and then you should be able to
Over here.
now. Oh, yeah.
So everybody can see that, right? Okay,
Now you just scroll through.
all right. And I can't see no
Yeah,
sure. This is weird.
So weird.
Okay, so,
What is it? Good apple?
no, it's whatever you use. So then I go through here and I don't go over this. I don't go over this. I flip through here, I say your initial here. I go back over here. I check these boxes and I say, and I check these in front of them, because this is where I want them to know that I'm really looking out for them. So I emphasize this. So I check this box and I check this box and it says, this is where you authorize me to disclose whatever information I deem necessary to give you the most money. Let me give you an example. A lot of houses right now are going into multiple offer situations. The one that we just sold in Raytown. It's not true, but I made it up, right? The one we just sold in Raytown, we have two identical offers for 175. Paying closing costs for the buyer because they're a first-time home buyer and don't have any money, and that's real common, we'll talk about that later. One was FHA and one was conventional. So I went back to the buyer. Do you understand the difference between FHA and conventional buyers?
Yes.
Okay, I asked the seller that. If they don't, I explain it. Then I come back and I say, So this says, so I went back to the buyer of the FHA loan and I said, look, we have a very, very similar offer that's conventional, that makes it stronger. Do you guys want to either up your price, try to switch to conventional, or else we're going to go with the other offer, what do you guys want to do? So I tell them that in some cases it's necessary for me to deliver certain information to one party, not another party, but it's all designed to get you the most money. So I also am saying that you authorize me to disclose the existence and the terms of other offers if necessary. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to, it just means that you're agreeing to let me do my job because that's why you're hiring me. So I check that box.
Which one do you want, the bottom one?
Yeah, I do the bottom one.
Yeah.
The seller authorizes the broker to disclose the following motivating factors for sale, which would mean why they're selling. And then this one would be seller authorizes the broker to disclose the existence in terms of other offers, meaning, right, this is what you know. So, and then I say, go down here, I fill this out, and then they may, through the course of this, have asked about commissions. If they don't, this is usually where we talk about it. And I don't know why we have this to be determined, I think because we really haven't married the title company yet, to be honest with you, but you can still write it in, or you can leave it blank, you can leave it to be determined, it doesn't matter. So then here I say, okay, we charge 8%, and we charge a $4.95 transaction fee. And then they say something. Now that's your time to just sell yourself, or say, look, my broker authorized, and based on, and a lot of times with Z-Buyer, one, they don't care to charge 8% because they don't know if that's high or low, they have no idea. But if they do, you can say, look, based on what I know about your situation, I'd like to have the opportunity, if you allow me, to discount my fee just a little bit. Would you allow me to do that for you?
Yes.
No,
You would?
Yes.
Okay, so what I can do, I've already got pre-authorization from my broker, is I can come down 0.5%. And you know, that'll really be like several $100. And here's one other thing, and you just watch what they do. Here's another thing. I can cut this in half. Because I really want you to spend time with, like, whatever the thing was, that's their pain point, that's where you bring it up. And remember, you're asking them to give you something, right? You're asking them to give you their trust, give you their home to sell, all of that. Be prepared to give them something back. So if you start at 6, you have way less room to wiggle. If you start at 8, you can give them something and something magical happens right there. You bring them back to their pain point, they're grateful, and they will freaking sign the paperwork. So go through that, cross it out, do whatever you do.
You cross it out and
Yep. Cross it out, and they're watching you put more money in their pocket.
Which you also need to then change the 5 and 3
Mhm.
to
These changes
whatever
are- yeah.
applies.
Try to leave that at 3 because we do want to offer 3 if we can. It just makes us look better. Plus, it helps our sellers a little bit more.
So
So
5% our side, 1% the buyer side.
That's something. That's something Catherine would do. So
That's
so
not true.
so no, it's not. So whatever you cross out and do, everyone needs an initial. Buyers are, you know, the sellers need an initial. The agents need an initial. And now is a really good time to get their first endorsement on this contract. Is you changed it, have them initial it, you initial it, then you move on, okay? And now you've got it. And where's that? And then I go here and I say, and then we go to this, and depending on the resistance that you get or no resistance, you can leave this. But I can tell you in the last month or 2, since I've been listing houses again, I just scratched the whole thing. I say normally we have a cancellation fee, but I know you guys, you're not gonna cancel. Like, we're gonna get this done for you. And I'm gonna take this out, just to give you a little bit more peace of mind, and then you're gonna sign here. So now let's go over the contract. And I go back to the top, and I say, okay, this is you, my company, the property address is how fast I do it. Here's and if you have to change this because they want a shorter term, change it, cross it out, have them do it. We're doing this. These guys initial it. Initial. Okay, just a refresher, the 0 here, this means we don't have a trust account. So when a buyer makes an offer and they give an earnest deposit, they don't make the check to us. We don't have a trust account. It has to be held by a title company. That just means that we don't hold the money. This says that the broker agrees to, and if you can't remember what this says, because it does change like twice a year, just look at the first few words on the line. Because many times you're reading it upside down, because there's 3 categories where it talks about who agrees to do what. So the broker agrees to, you can see market the property. So what this says is that we agree to market the property at our cost, unless you work out something else, unless you've got some other thing where they're gonna pay for the photos or the marketing. But what this means is we're gonna pay for stuff at our cost, and we're just gonna do everything that we already do, absorb the expenses of marketing, and you're gonna get paid when we close. Then I go to, and I don't read it, I don't do anything else, I skip down here to the other goal, the broker authorization to disclose, oh, we already did that. So this says, did I skip a page? Seems like I skipped a page. Oh, I did, I skipped seller.
Sellers.
So seller agrees to refer anybody. So here's the thing, you know when you're gonna be out there cleaning the house or doing yard work or whatever, someone might walk up and be like, I love your house, I wanna see it. Can I see it? You have to refer anybody to me. I'm your agent. That's what I do for you. You don't need to be showing your house to other people. So this says that anybody that comes through, you're gonna refer them to me. It says that you're gonna allow me to show your property. It says you're gonna allow me to put it on the internet, and allow me to get a photographer, which by the way, almost everyone on our team loves our photographer. And then I say, except Kathy.
Wait, I was gonna say.
So this just
I
says,
was gonna call her out if you didn't.
yeah, so that just says the seller agrees to let you do whatever you're gonna do. Broker agrees to, yes.
Is there a certain price point that you won't have the photography?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I go through here. We've already talked about that you authorize me to represent you and do what I deem necessary in negotiations. This says we have a seller's disclosure. Remember this form I said you have for homework? That's what you're gonna do. The next 3 pages, brokerage relationship disclosure. I just skip right over this. There's no reason to talk about it. It freaks people out. If you don't trust me, get a lawyer. That freaks people out. So I breeze right over it, and then I say brokerage relationship disclosure. So here's what you need to know. There's 3 pages on brokerage relationship disclosure. You need to know that I represent it. Any questions? No. Okay, here's what may happen. We sell a lot of our own listings ourselves. We market really, really well, and that's in your best interest. So you're just breezing through all of this, right? You get to this section, and you say, this sums up the last 3 pages of brokerage relationship disclosure. Remember, I represent you, that's really all you need to know. But in the case that someone called off with a sign, and you don't have an agent, we can work with the buyer. We can actually sell your house to the buyer. We still represent you, we don't represent them. This says that in the event that we already have an agreement with the buyer, that means we represent a buyer, but I also represent you. That means I represent 2 people, and you can't do that because again, you can only be the word completely escaped me. Fiduciary. You can only be fiduciary to one party. Okay. So this says in the event that that happens, there's a form you'll have to sign, but we'll let you know about it. And then I say. And the commission we've talked about, the limited home warranty. I always hit on this because their eyes really stop here, but you want to talk about anything that their eyes fix on. If their eyes don't fix on it, don't talk about it, but don't brush over it. So they usually look here, it's the first, it's just where eyes tend to go. And I say, look, we may get asked to buy a home warranty for the buyer, and we can do that if we agree. But this just says that we're not gonna agree to purchase one because that would mean that we have to buy one now and offer it for sale with the house. So we just say that right now we're not gonna purchase one. But again, they may come ask for it later. And we'll talk about when a buyer makes an offer and how that all works. And then I think you guys sign right here. So you have an initial every page. As you get down to the bottom of it, you have them sign it. And then right here is where I write any official or additional things. Like, and Tyler probably has a different way he may like it, I'm not sure, but I make sure that both the sellers' email addresses and phone numbers on there if they want. Well, I make sure they're both on there anyway. But then I talk about CSS here and showing instruction and stuff. And I say, how would you guys do it? Here's 3 ways that we can do it. I'll tell you what I recommend. What I recommend is that you get a courtesy showing, or a courtesy call, which just means they're gonna text or email you whatever's more convenient for you. They're gonna say when someone's coming, who they're coming, what company they're coming from, and the time they wanna do it. If it's cool, just let it go, or accept it, or whatever the text response is. But if you wanna change it, you can change it. Dogs are always something real important to pay attention to, because a lot of people are scared of dogs, and you wanna know if the dog's gonna be kenneled, or if they're gonna be barreling after people, or whatever. So here's where you just get a little bit of information, you got everything signed, and you're done. Now you talk about, you go back to this, and you talk about, so what I wanna do is I wanna talk about expectations, because that's where a lot of people end up having the best experience or not a good experience based on the expectations you set. So remember I said we got Tyler, he's your point of contact. So when I get back to the office, I'm gonna give it to him, he's gonna send you an email with a copy of everything you signed. We're doing that, right?
Yes.
Okay. He's gonna send you a
I
copy.
answered.
He's gonna send you a copy of everything that we signed, and he's also gonna schedule the photos to be taken. So, and then we'll get to your question in a minute. He's also gonna schedule the photos that are gonna be taken, but you already know what you're gonna tell Tyler that you want done, because you've already had a conversation with him about, are they gonna stage it, are they gonna move stuff around, or whatever the case may be. And then you pack up your stuff and you leave. Question? You read it? Oh, you mean you read it, okay?
Yeah,
How did it go?
Rick was there, I guess. Yeah, it was an older South.
Yeah, and I mean, and he is someone, who wanted information. And, you know, so yeah, she did go through the entire contract with him and read it and everything else. He seemed appreciative. We talked a little bit about it, you know, afterwards, but, yeah, I think what Tim's going through right now, and like I told you then too, is that, you know, I do a lot of stuff electronically, so, with my clients, so.
The norm is most people don't want to read the whole thing. Is that correct?
So, interesting things. I would say yes for me, but everyone might be a little bit different in the way they present it. I listed one a couple days ago on Agnes or something, an older lady, she's 70, and she used to be a teacher, and she used to work in at research as a something technical, right? And I was going through it, but I was noticing that she wasn't listening, she was reading, because remember we talked about auditory and what's that? Visual. And she was clearly visual. So when I noticed that just in the first paragraph, she was reading and she totally tuned me out, I said, Ann, is it okay if I just go get some pictures with my phone while you read the content?
Yeah, exactly. And
So I left her alone.
That's
to read it.
good.
And, yeah.
And she had no objections. But if I had tried to stop her from reading, I guarantee you she would, you know? So I just left her alone to do it, because I identified that she was visual and she wanted to go through it. And I came back after I got my pictures and I moved some stuff around the house and we just did it. So you definitely want to engage your person. But that's exactly how I do the contract. Now, if they want to go and expand on anything, go ahead and expand on anything. Your question, the line is somewhere like, I mean, I think we say 150, 175 on professional photography, but there could be a house that's 300 that's a dog.
Right, that you're not gonna sell.
But
You know,
more than
But
anything.
you wanna list it, right? But you know that it's overpriced, it's, you know, about, like you said, and, you know, if.
Something you just take your own.
Yeah, exactly.
And more than anything, it's about the cost of the photography compared to we're never gonna sell it, right? Like, it's a fabulous home, but we're never gonna sell it, and the seller wants to list it for $30,000 more, then we're suggesting, you're like, look, I would love to work with you. You know what I think your home is worth. You know that I have been wrong. The only way we're gonna know is to stick the dang thing on the MLS and see what all the feedback is, but I can tell you one thing, $30,000 over my suggested price means we're not gonna sell it unless you get more realistic. So, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you, but I need you to agree to pay for the photos, and it's only $350, you can handle that. And we just made $250.
Or you take it back.
And you guys get the part of it.
I
Like,
love that.
if you do that, and you get the seller to do it, we'll get a check for $350. By the way, we do take credit cards.
Just tell them just to ship the credit card.
So it's 350, I don't know, 350, so we send for photographs?
They cost us $100,
And it's not,
but we'll sell them for $350 or whatever. I mean, here's the thing, it's like, if I'm gonna spend my time on you, and you're very unrealistic, I'm gonna let you know, but in a very nice way. Like, I'm willing to do this dance with you. I'm willing to ride this out with you, but I can't in good conscience spend my money on your unrealistic value. And that's exactly how I talk to people. So,
You ever give people the?
yes, yeah, I mean, people pay cancellation fees. Like, I don't wanna lock anyone into a listing that doesn't wanna work with us. Like, if we just drop the ball and we've done a really bad job, and they wanna cancel, I'll cancel over the phone. But if it's the kind of thing where we've got 4 offers that are over the price, we've worked with you, and you've just been a pain in my butt forever, you know, I'll say, look, I'll cancel this. Here's the link to Realtor.com. Give me a good recommendation once I see it. I'll send my runner out to pick up a check for $500 with a cancellation that you can sign. So it's not about, what it is about protecting our time and giving good customer service. And don't let people walk over you. And so in most cases, we'll cancel listings, no problem, and let you keep the photos, and I'll eat the cost of the photos. Like, we did a bad job, it's on me. But if we're gonna be asked to do something that's above kind of our ability, you're gonna go ahead and help us with the cost of things.
That's what I'm worrying about, staging, because I've been told that it'd be like, a lot of people will pay for the staging consultation, but then it's the seller's responsibility to pay for staging, like the actual.
I can tell you that I've never staged a house. And I know a lot of people do it, and I know it makes things look really, really nice, but I also don't sell a lot of like really high houses. But I've never staged one in thousands. If a seller wants to stage it, like another question that you get a lot is, should I have all my family pictures and stuff taken down? And I'm like, no, leave them up, like, get your family. Like, people wanna look at a house that's lived in. Don't unlive in your house just to sell it. But you should declare it. You know, all that stuff that's up in the yard, you just put it in the garage or something like that. Any questions? Young lady, this is it?
Are you paying attention?
Yes, I was just showing her something.
We should play a game
back up.
called, who likes to have side conversations, roll the dice. So we didn't get questions?
Yeah, she's a friend.
No, I don't have questions.
You don't have to-
Okay, so, on the commission part, like, one of my favorite lines, if they disputed with me,
Okay.
that I actually
Yeah, that's fine.
learned,
It's
Let
done.
me-
is, would you wanna list your house with an agent who's easily gonna give away their money?
That's a good one.
And then when it comes to negotiating, they're gonna easily give away your money?
Yeah.
That's really good.
I mean, if they're not gonna fight for their
Why would I
position-
fight for yours? Yeah, that's good.
Exactly, so
It's really, really good.
if they're like fixated on the commission, and I had a lady text me and she's like, are you a discount real estate agent? I was like, do you work for a discount? No.
So do you get
And
8%?
she, what?
So you get 8%? That one on my list.
Oh, well, okay, we have to rewind here a little bit. So, I use the 5% on houses that, commission versus workload wise, yeah, I put in the 5%. Like, anything under 100K, I put in 5%, but
Or you
anything,
did a $5,000 too.
well, yeah.
Whichever one's gonna work in your favor.
Yeah, whichever is gonna work in your favor. I mean, you gotta be smart about how much time you're spending versus how much you're gonna make. What was I gonna say though?
Something about the commission objection?
So what, So, I say I created it, I don't know if I actually created it, I just created it for us because we were doing low-end listings like your $24,000 one. It's like, hey, what do you charge? It's like 20.8%. 20.8% is a huge commission, but she got it.
Yeah, closer.
She just didn't call it 20.8%, she called it $5,000 marketing and commission, right? And then she kept 4. So, or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's like, what is your time worth? And a lot of these leads that we've been working on are some lower end. If you don't wanna go, don't go. But I figured, if I can make a commission on a $150,000 house, I'll do it all day long. Even if the house is $20,000, I'm still getting $4,500. So in that case, I'll do it all day long. And you see how easy
all day long, too.
you see how easy these things are. That's why it's called leads I can use, because it's literally like, it's like, they have a problem, fix it. If you're the problem master, the problem fixer, then you could get 20.3% all day long. Any other objections that you get that you want to talk about, or that you think are good to go? I mean, you'll get objections throughout this whole thing on different things.
Oh, with that lady who asked me if I was a discount real estate agent or not, I actually set a listing appointment with her next week.
You did?
Yeah, because after I told her that, she was like, I'm sorry for even asking that. So I was like, it's all good, I was just asking, like, do you work for a discount or not?
Hey,
Because I don't. My time's more valuable than that.
I like that
So
response
much.
too. If anyone, like Joseph brought up, if your clients do want a house staged or anything like that, I do have someone I work with, Patty Mahalik. And
I wonder if she's related to John Mahalik.
Huh?
I wonder if she's related to John Mahalik down in school.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway.
Do you have
she's
like,
good, and I have her cards.
what are the charges kind of based on?
You
Do
know
you
what?
know if it's like an hourly thing or a
I'm not
piece of
sure, because
furniture?
just like
Okay.